1,000 stories in the Envisioners' future. This is just one of them. Well, hello, and welcome. How the devil are you? That's a tricky question to ask, isn't it? First week into lockdown, how are you doing? Let me tell you how I'm doing. I'm doing all right, actually. It's been a tough old week, but let me tell you, if anybody needs any help with either circle theorem, there you go, or an artistic understanding of Orwell's 1984, I'm your man. Right, I've spent most of this week trying to figure that stuff out, so I'm here for you. More importantly, how are you all doing? I suspect whoever thought up dry January and lockdown V3 wasn't really thinking things through, so I hope you're doing okay. We're back again, and what we wanted to do this week again is just to repeat our performance of last week of just trying to be here to help. Once again, we've established a fantastic panel of experts who are going to bring you a slightly different perspective really to remote schooling. We're going to err on the side of teachers, not focusing purely on the teachers, but really on things that teachers are struggling with, things that teachers are doing, some of the things that are happening in terms of how do we help schools equip the right kind of resources. But remember, lovely people, this is still all about you. This is all about how can we help you make the best of this difficult, tricky situation that we're all in, balancing the education of our children with lockdown, with a pandemic that's causing lots and lots of trouble, and also trying to get through this in a way that we retain our sanity and our relationships. So no real challenge there, I'm sure. So look, with that in mind, let me jump straight to our panel and we'll get stuck into our conversation. So I'm absolutely thrilled to be able to introduce you to two ladies who are doing some amazing things in the world of remote schooling and education. Jennie, could you sort of introduce yourself, talk to us a bit about your role and sort of your where you're at with this thing right now?
Yeah, okay. I'm Jennie. I'm an assistant head teacher in a secondary school. I lead on teaching and learning. So as you can imagine, the last couple of weeks have been very busy with all of the changing guidance coming out day in, day out. But our staff have just been amazing at making sure that they're dealing with it and they bounce back from all the challenges. I also teach remotely myself. So it's been a bit of a whirlwind. So yeah, I'm pleased to be here.
Wow. And it's lovely that you could join us. Louise, same for you. Could you introduce us and talk to us a bit about what you're up to in this space?
Yeah, sure. So my name's Louise Campton. I'm the director of my own company, which is all about helping teachers to become experts in the digital world that we find ourselves in. So we run this through the apprenticeship levy as a great way of drawing down funding that people haven't attracted, so that in effect the training's for free for their staff. So we've got head teachers on the programme, ICT leads, teachers, teaching assistants, and they're all learning how to embed remote learning and hybrid learning into their practice on a daily basis. I'm also a parent, so I work at home in my bedroom right now with the two children downstairs doing their home learning. So it really is a whirlwind. I think that's a great descriptor right now.
Yeah, I think a whirlwind is perfect. It's certainly, I think, encapsulates where a lot of people are right now. Jennie, maybe I could start with you from from the teaching side, because we dealt with last week a lot of the parental reaction to the lockdown, which was like, oh my God, how are we going to get through? What we're going to do is bad enough before, blah blah blah. I'd love it. Could you sort of play through what was the other side of that lens? What was the teacher reaction when that all started to play out? How did you guys all feel?
I think it was difficult to put a word on it to begin with. So we had spent most of the autumn term. If I take you back to September, we'd come back just before the summer after the previous lockdown, and everyone was enjoying being back in the building. That's a huge part of teaching, which I'm sure lots of people know. It's about being with the students, being with the other people, and those connections that you get. we went off for the summer break, needing a much needed rest, came back in September with some renewed batteries and ready to go. And then throughout the autumn term, there was a lot of talk in the government about the numbers of cases of the virus changing. We always had this at the back of our mind that something could happen. We were balancing during that term the students who needed to isolate, and even teachers who needed to isolate at home if they'd been in contact with a positive COVID case. So we've been doing a form of blended learning all the way since September on an individual basis. But then after Christmas, we'd said to all of the staff, take a break, make sure you recharge your batteries, do what you can, enjoy some time with your family if you can. And shortly after we broke up, we were then told actually we were in a lockdown over Christmas. So we had lots of people who were disappointed after working all the way up to the Christmas break that they didn't get that time to spend with their families. And then coming back in January, I'm really fortunate to work in a place where we've got a real sense of team identity and everybody supports each other. So I can't fault our staff for trying, but you can see they're tired. Everyone's feeling tired. And I think teaching is quite a unique job at the moment, that your job description changes quite frequently. It can change in a matter of 24 hours in the job you're expected to do. So it's very difficult, and also trying to manage that anxiety in the students, in the parents, in other teachers. It feels a little bit like you're on all of the time, trying to make sure that everybody is okay. And it's important to make sure that we're making sure the teachers are okay as well, because they take care of everyone.
Yeah, no, exactly. And it's funny because so many things that you said resonated with me in terms of, that sort of preparing for this. I guess one of the things that I'm really interested is you talked about sort of being doing blended learning in September, or from September, which, I think is shared by certainly a lot of secondary schools, and if not, all schools. How's that playing out now? How do your teachers feel? Is there a difference between sort of blended learning, so you've got some kids in the classroom and a handful of kids maybe at home waiting for, either self-isolating or making results, versus everybody's remote? Is there a big difference in sort of teaching for that?
Yeah, so if I answer that simply from the teacher's perspective rather than a school leader perspective, it is hugely different. So if you imagine blended learning in our format was having audio available in the classroom. So anyone who was at home, say we've got 4 or 5 students who needed to isolate, they could hear the audio that was happening in the classroom live. They could listen to what the teacher was saying. They might be able to see a presentation being shown or a whiteboard being shown, and they're able to listen into the lesson. And we were really keen that we did that for the students, so they kept on track with their curriculum, and the students and parents really appreciated it. But it's certainly a lot of work for a teacher to manage physical students in a classroom as well as students at home, and manage both of those needs. From my perspective, my own personal perspective on this is it's actually easier to teach when everybody is at home, because everybody's in the same situation. You're all on a screen, and you can interact much more easily with the students than needing to remember to support the students you have in the classroom and remember to go back and check on the ones who are joining you online. I've had that feedback from some of the teachers that I'm working with as well, that it's easier when everybody's doing the same thing.
Yes, certainly. I mean, anecdotally, I didn't tell you this before we went on air, but, we've been remote schooling since September for family reasons. And we've noticed a big difference now. John's no longer, one of the 2 kids that's remote. It's everybody's there, so it's a lot easier to for the teachers to engage. So we've certainly seen that experience. And then, a final question for you, Jenny, and then I really want to come to you, Louise. And the segue is really about the technical skills of the teachers. And this is how have they found that? And because I know, certainly, and again, this is just anecdotal spirit. What I didn't say actually in the opening is, parents, we love you. We've always loved you, parents. We know how hard you work and all that sort of stuff. But teachers, we really do love you, because we know how difficult this is for you and how much you care about what's going on. So when I talk about sort of teachers and their technological capability, I can't get my words out tonight. This is really about understanding how we can help, rather than thinking, well, why aren't things being done? How have the teachers found the technology? Has it been, I'm not going to say smooth, but it has been straightforward for them to sort of transition into all remote?
I think it's been really individual based on the teachers. So we've got some teachers who before that first lockdown, or before this lockdown now, wouldn't try out new things on a laptop, were very keen to stick to the way that they know how to do things, weren't keen to be using that technology, and have absolutely taken it in their stride. And actually, we've got some of our staff who, it's those people who didn't engage with the technology before that have come at it with a fresh pair of eyes and are doing the most innovation that we've seen, because they're just amazing. The support from teacher to teacher is really important, and that's been a huge thing for us, that one person's tried something and just given it a go, and the children are fantastically resilient at saying, "Miss, that didn't work. It wasn't right for me." But the teachers are getting up again and being resilient and giving it a go, and then sharing that information with each other. So it's been huge that the teachers are really supporting each other with that as well. But yeah, it's been a tough transition, but I think it's been fantastic.
Yeah, no, I love that, Jenny. And I want to come back to that point on resilience, because I think that's going to be a recurring theme. Louise, let me bring you in now, because I know this sort of whole thing around, technical capability and confidence, probably more than capability with technology, is really at the heart of what you've been trying to do in Coventry in the West Midlands. So talk us through a bit about that, and then talk us through, what's been going on really with you over the last few weeks as you've seen this change as we've moved into the sort of the third lockdown.
Yeah, I mean, it's incredible, really, the journey. I wanted to create an apprenticeship program that allowed people to come on program who were of any, obviously apprenticeships now you can come on board at any age. So I wanted to create the vehicle whereby schools could access money, which the apprenticeship money they'd already lost. So it was a way of getting that money back, and then technically upskilling themselves, because the reason I wanted to do that, my why, I think for every business owner we have one, and my why was my son, who wasn't able to access an iPad in the classroom, which he really needed to help his English and maths. And this is going back now. He was in year 5. So now he's in year 8, and he's in a whole different place. And obviously we've been hit by this pandemic, and it's almost the message that I was trying to get out kind of 3 or 4 years ago about how we need to upskill teachers and how we need to get them to be able to match the technical abilities of our children, so that they're not held back, and the things they're doing in the home environment, they can come into school and get involved with that, and maybe look further into and grow and develop in the technical space, and aspire to the careers that they've got, and all the rest of it. It was sorry, I've just lost my trail of thought then. Help me out, Dave. What did I just say then?
No, you were doing fine. You were talking about your son, and realizing that the schools didn't necessarily have the technological capability to support people like your son who wanted to engage with technology, was going to learn more by having access to technology.
Yeah, so that was my why for him. And then obviously now we're facing the pandemic, which is, there's a whole host of reasons why the teachers need to get upskilled. So we'd kind of put together a program which was all about how to enable teachers to go on a journey of that digital transformation. And if I look at myself, I actually modeled it on myself, because I worked in a school, and they gave me an iPad to hold and to deliver sessions, and I couldn't do it because it was terrifying. You've got these 30 faces looking at you, and if those iPads aren't charged properly, and all of those reasons behind it were terrifying. So we've taken a program now which has gone crazy because of the pandemic, and we've actually got head teachers going on it. I never expected to get a head teacher on my program, but these people are saying, I need to understand the digital space. What was a teacher's role has changed. This pandemic has changed it, and it's never going to come back to what it was. So I think that's kind of the driver behind it. It's my program was my why about my son, but that's evolved massively, and listening to teachers and hearing about their particular challenges. And I love what Jenny says, because you're absolutely right, that those people that were kind of digging their heels in and saying, I've always done it this way, and face to face, and and actually they're getting involved, and they're flying, and they're open to new learning experiences. So I don't actually think all of this is bad. I think there's elements of it which are really challenging for schools, for parents, for children, for all of us. but actually there's some fundamentals which are going to shape the future of education and teaching that are never ever going to come back to what was pre the pandemic.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I guess I hope from all of this. And Jenny, be interested in your perspective is, obviously we've learned a lot of lessons. And I think that for me, the litmus test is the teachers who historically, just would never have bothered, touching the smart board or the laptop in their classroom, but are now actually realizing what it can do. Do you think there'll be a lasting sort of impact, a legacy, if you like, from this terrible experience that will be a different relationship with technology in the classroom?
Yeah, I think so. And it comes back to what Louise has just said about the students are so able to use that technology that there's less of a divide now between what the teachers understand can be done and what the students are regularly doing. And there's less of a barrier, I suppose, where students are seeing teachers try new things. There's also support from the children for the staff to say, I know how to use this and I can show you how to do it. And I think that that's huge.
Yeah, sorry, I just wanted to come in on that point because and you nailed it actually, because that's exactly where I was at. What I love is this. I don't know, Jenny. Tell me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like there's a new teacher-student relationship emerging from this, which is much more of a sort of a co-creation, a supportive. I can show you how to do that, miss, or actually, when I've done it in the past, or when Mr. So-and-so, the maths teacher, does it, he does it like this, and it works like that. And I'm just seeing that, and I just think that's a really wonderful way for us to go forward in education. Is that just sort of rose-tinted glasses from my parents' perspective, or is that happening?
No, we're experiencing that quite a lot, and I think it's given students more of a voice. Before, there was quite a divide between the teacher knows the most in the classroom and the students don't, and sometimes that can be a barrier to really effective collaborative learning. And this has kind of leveled the playing field here, that sometimes the students do know more. Quite often, the students know more about the technology than the teachers do. And what it's done is it's allowed that barrier to break a little bit now, and it is more of a collaboration than just being told what to do in a session.
What's interesting to me, and this will be less relevant to you guys, but pre-lockdown 3, a lot of the conversation we would have in this show would be more about sort of the future of work and the future of the office and what's going on. And one of the big shifts we see is this sort of shift in we call it sort of a shift from management to leadership, and it's really a shift from the command and control, do as I say, to more of a coach, an empowerment mentality, which is how can I help you be successful? And I'm just wondering if that's really the same kind of shift that we're seeing in teaching too, and maybe it was always there, and I'm sure it was in lots of places, but as an across the board now, this sort of collaborative, supportive empowerment approach. Do you think that's part of the change that's happening?
Absolutely. You've nailed a conversation that I had at the start of my day today with our principal. That, like I said at the start, I'm in charge of the remote learning at the moment at my school, and we went live on Monday. And I sent out a message on Monday evening and just said, "Is everybody okay? Because nobody's asked me anything today. Nothing. No one was interested."
Yeah.
And I felt a bit useless all day. But reflecting on it, what it showed me was everyone was helping each other, and it was about that collaboration. And it wasn't needing to be told what to do. It was, I've come across a problem. Here you go. I've fixed it. Does anybody else have this problem? Or saying, "Help! I've got a problem." And there isn't a barrier to thinking, I'm going to look silly if I say that I don't know how to do this. It's just become, it's okay to say you can't do it, and someone will help you to fix it.
Yeah, it's almost been a great leveling from that perspective.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about confidence, and in particular, sort of how do you help build confidence in a school around technology? And Louise, probably it's best to start with you, because I think the gift. Well, the stuff that you're doing with the apprenticeships, it gives many gifts, but one of them, I think, is a new level of confidence for schools, knowing that they've got someone there who can help them. Is that a core part of what you're trying to do there, is to build the confidence in the school in their relationship with technology?
I think that's my main driver in everything I do, is and everything that my team do. We have a passion for helping people to understand the technology that they use on a daily basis. And the apprentices, and when you say that word apprentice, it conjures up an image of you know, a 16, 17-year-old, but they're not. We've got people that are returning back into work. You know, some people that have always wanted to go into teaching and are now in the classroom helping people to use technology. So what it's doing is bringing together a real beautiful collaborative network of people that have got a passion and interest for technology and a willingness to share that. And obviously our program's nationwide, so you've got lots of schools now with an apprentice, so they're starting to talk to one another and share those experiences. And some of them are going off into teaching because they realise, as you know, a byproduct of going on that journey, that actually they can't imagine not helping the next generation, which is wonderful to see, because as a careers advisor, you know, I know that the future of jobs are going to be technology based. So it's almost like you're changing lives really in the direction of travel, you know, that we're going on in the world.
Yeah, I absolutely, and I love that. And I think what I love about that is the fact that it's not just that sort of stereotype age group of apprentices, but you're seeing that across the board. It's one of the conversations. I mean, a lot of what I do is about helping to, if you like, open the eyes of parents to the potential of technology in the lives of their kids. But the byproduct of that is we all realize that actually, you know, all of us have got a few years left in us in terms of our working lives, and we're all going to have to change and all going to have to learn. Even nerds like me are going to have to learn new stuff, which is just much to the sort of enjoyment of my son, who is already fixing my computer and saying, God, Dad, did you not know? You know. So, and of course, my mum and dad, who will be listening to this at some point, will be laughing, because of course that's what I've been doing for them for years. So I think it's great that we're seeing that. Jennie, if I could come to you and think about at school, as a school leader, what can you do to sort of embrace and encourage the development of that confidence in the teaching staff? Because it must be really tough if you're used to doing things in a certain way and suddenly to have the rug pulled from underneath you, and now it's almost like you're trying to teach with your arms tied behind your back. How do you go about sort of building confidence in the teaching staff?
I think we're in quite a fortunate position at the school that I'm at, that all staff have their own laptops. All of the students are expected to have some sort of device that they can log into at any point in the school day. So we have staff who understand basic levels of technology, but doing this collaboratively and being on your own at home, where you need to teach that lesson on your own, and there isn't a member of staff next door who you can just pop your head around the corner and say, I'm really stuck, can you help me with this? It's that confidence that we've had to find to support the staff. And we've done that by having other forms of communication. It might be messages, it might be a quick phone call, but from a leadership perspective, it just goes back to that. It's okay to get it wrong. It's okay if it doesn't go well, and you know, you're in the middle of a lesson and your call turns off, or your screen doesn't share, or something goes wrong and you're talking for 5 minutes to students and then you realize that whole 5 minutes you're on mute. Those kind of things. It's breaking down that worry about getting it wrong, and it's okay to get it wrong. And I think that's really important in building the confidence that you learn from your mistakes.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? Because I think there is so much about it's being okay to be vulnerable as well, and actually that's another one of the traits when we talk about sort of leaders. One of the things that we've talked a lot about on this show is, you know, that one of the best traits of a leader throughout this is someone who's prepared to be vulnerable or expose their vulnerability as they go through this. I think there's another piece here, and Jazz, who's a regular viewer but is also if you like, he's a science and technology ambassador. He does work with kids in Africa and India, and they they might have access to a smartphone, and he's getting them to code in Ghana or Africa and actually program some equipment. He's doing drone piloting basically here in the UK, and so they liaise over email and they communicate. So it's great. But there's a huge point about keeping it simple, and it just reminds me, one of my favorite of my son's teachers is someone who is not massively enamored with technology, let's put it that way, But he's actually one of the best teachers, because he simply just puts his laptop on the desk so that you could see, and this was pre-lockdown, so you could see the whiteboard. He shares the notebook in for us it's Teams, but it would work in Google. And then that's it. There's no messing around. He's not trying to be flash. He's not trying to be clever. And then he just gets on with his lesson. And I love the simplicity in that. So I think there's something in the confidence about helping people to be simple. And, and maybe this is where Jazz is coming from, is there's something about technology and being a technologist that makes you want to overcomplicate it. Oh, look, we could do automatic document signing, or we could do handwriting recognition, or that, do you know what I mean? It's like, yeah, or, we could just write it out in Word or WordPad or whatever. So it's that sort of sense of keeping it simple. I'm just getting a little bit conscious of time, and one of the things that I really want to do is to sort of be true to the way I've sold this, which is about the parents' guide. But what I really wanted to do was I wanted to establish the perspective of teachers, and I wanted to establish the kind of challenges and the things that they're going through. The bit I'd love to do now, and maybe Jenny, if I could start with you, is what sort of how have you involved the parents, and what's your thoughts about how do you engage parents in this, because they are sort of looking at this. I think some of them are looking for help, some of them are looking for you to actually take the problem away, because I've got a job that I've got to do, or I've got other challenges. How does that work? What's the relationship like with parents now, and how do you get that right?
I think one of the things we've tried to do is just communicate as much as we possibly can about the thought process we're going through, how things are going to work, try and be as clear as we possibly can in that communication, and say, here's how lessons are going to look. The most recent communication that I've sent out to our parents is, here's what our Microsoft Teams actually looks like. Here's what your child will see. Here's how they submit a piece of work. And I think that same thing about having the confidence that the teachers had in not being used to this kind of technology. Not everybody is used to the technology that's used in schools. They're not used to the platforms that we use in the classroom. And just not knowing is actually a big anxiety builder for those parents, and can cause more conflict at home, can make the parents feel like they're not supported by the school. And just trying to break that down by being as transparent as you can about, here's how it works, and please just ask, and responding as quickly as we can to that, alleviate the worries and solve the problems. And I think that's built better parent engagement for us, that we are trying to be open and share how things work, rather than just saying, here are 10 different websites that the students use in any given day. And like Louise said before, the students know it. They can click on it and they know, I go here and I go there and I click this and I do this. But for a parent trying to support a child who hasn't come across that before, sharing that as much as we can has been really important.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I think that's absolutely spot on, and it's almost like it's another example of that sort of relationship change. And I know it's hard for parents whose world this isn't. And I speak to a lot of them in my day job, even before the pandemic. It was trying to give parents the confidence to embrace technology and embrace the fact that they know less than their kids about it, and actually use that as an opportunity to build a great relationship. And it's funny, I know Ian Ian Phillips is watching, and that was his point about, this is the opportunity right now, is about building relationships, and whether it's building a better relationship with your kids, or teachers building a better relationship with the students, or actually parents building a better relationship with the school. I think that's crucial. Louise, without putting you on the spot, I mean, you kind of straddle both worlds between being a parent and sort of being involved in teaching. What do you think that we need to do in terms of getting parents in the right place to empower them to make this, I want to say the best it can possibly be. I also want to say the least worst, because I just want to recognize that it's, it's a difficult situation for lots of reasons. What do you think the thing is that we need to do to get parents in the right space?
I mean, I feel for parents. You can see it all around you. Everyone wants to do the best for their child, and to help them to learn. I think Jenny's point about process, almost, I always go back to process. All of our apprentices, one of the first things they do is do how-to guides for everything. So if I can talk about my son, who is SEN, and he will run circles around me because he will have this platform that they need to use. And I'll say, oh, show me all your tasks, and he'll hide tasks from me. So we need to empower these parents so that they can take responsibility and sort of support their child on their learner journey. And things like go-to guides or, you know, how-to guides are the simple way of a parent really feeling empowered. And I think it would be great to see more of bringing those parents together who are busy working parents, you know, working hard, trying to keep a roof over our, you know, our heads, and kind of juggling all of this, you know, to bring them together in this kind of forum, I think would be amazing, because I bet they would love it. Just the interaction. You've got lots of single parents like myself, whereby your whole world, you have no adult company aside from you through the screen work. You're juggling your child's commitments. They're getting ratty, so you kind of, you know, you're falling out a lot more than what you would normally do, because you're trying to hold them accountable. And all of those things, I think it would be great to bring those parents together in these kind of forums to share ideas and get support from each other.
Yeah, and I mean, absolutely, Louise, and that's really what we, my aspiration when I sort of spun this up last week, but was thinking about it the week before, is exactly those people, the people who don't have somebody to ask, or aren't in a network, or maybe don't know where to go. And I feel for them, because I look at what, you know, everybody's trying to help, right? And I see what the technology companies do, and they lob a pretty web page over the wall with like 1,000 links. Just click here and just click here. And actually what we need is, you know, I can't even get my bloody printer to work. Do you know what I mean? Never mind learning how I'm going to do all this stuff. So let's build that community. And my offer to the audience, and will continue to be, you know, whatever your questions are, and I don't care if it's like, where do I get a device from, or how do I get my printer to work, or what's the best way to use Teams? That's what we're here for. I can't guarantee you we'll answer everything. We'll do our best. But it really is to provide a vehicle for people to ask those questions. And that was really important to me in building this. I'm actually slightly excited. We're going to have some hopefully big news next week about building that conversation and setting that up for the duration, the remainder of this lockdown, because I think, yeah, all right, we'll get, you know, through the first couple of weeks of pain, but it's not like it will get any easier, right? It's not like there won't be any other problems that we need to solve in terms of what we need to do. So look, I am just looking at time, and so I'm just going to start to bring things to a calm and controlled close. I'd like to ask you each just one question that speaks really to your sort of specific area and your experience. Jennie, if I could pick on you first, and just the question I'd ask is, if you could give one piece of advice to teachers to help them, you know, make the best of what's in front of them in terms of technology in this experience, what would you tell them?
Oh, that's definitely an on-the-spot question. I think a big thing, I said it earlier, is that you're not on your own, and there are so many different ways that you can connect with different people to do different things, using technology to do that. And it comes back to something Louise has just said. It might be less adult interaction during a day. There are lots of teachers who are also working parents that you simply aren't on your own, and it's forums like this where you can listen, you can communicate with somebody else, you can ask some questions, you can share ideas. That would be my big thing about making the best of the technology we've got. Don't suffer in silence and do it all by yourself. Get out there, share your ideas if you've got them, reach out to someone, and we're stronger together.
What a great sentiment, Jennie, and thank you for that. And you know, certainly what we'd like to do, and not just in this show, but in every conversation, if we can compare notes, we can connect people to each other. That's kind of what we're here for. And then to you, Louise, and again, you know, in a place where you sort of straddle both worlds, what advice would you give to parents? You know, what's the best thing that they can do in terms of building that relationship and having the confidence and engaging with the school?
I think they need to reach out to the school if they're struggling for visibility, because often you think that the visibility is not there, but that's due to a lack of technical knowledge. And I found that myself. I'm not great on technology, so I've needed to go to the school, and they've supported me to be able to understand more about where everything lives on the different portals and things, to see when things are closed off. And they will handhold you at the moment. You know, they are making time for mini kind of sessions whereby the parents can dial in. And I think they are being more responsive on a daily basis in terms of what they're dealing with. So I think do talk to your schools, but also don't beat yourself up. because we can only do our very best every day. And some days, at the end of the day, I think, oh no, I haven't done this and I haven't done that. And it's nature to focus on all of those negatives. But try, if you can, and focus on just writing down 3 good things that you've done each day as a parent, because, add them together at the end of this pandemic, and actually you'll have done pretty well.
Yeah, that's wonderful, Louise. I couldn't, really say anything better than that, because it really is about understanding how amazing, you're all doing, whether you're teacher or parent. It's just wonderful. On that note, I'd love to thank both of you for giving us some time this evening. Jennie, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.
Oh, great to have you with us, Jennie. And thank you again, Louise.
Thank you for having me, Dave.
No, it's an absolute pleasure. So look, there's a couple of things before I leave you that I wanted to connect you with. You remember our old friend, Ian Phillips, and old in the sense that we've been friends a long time. He's not old, he's just well worn. Not helping, am I? Anyway, he and his colleagues have been busy, and they have curated the beginnings of a collection of resources for remote teaching. I'll share the link. We actually shared it at last show as well, but it's grown since then. So I just wanted to make you aware that that's available. And then also, like I said, we got some big things happening. We know that this is a big issue. We've got some partnerships coming through that I think are going to be really helpful in terms of facilitating this conversation going forward. Remember, this is about helping you. This is about answering your questions. And I'll start. I used to, with great glee, as part of my set, make great fun about the things that we needed to do to change in what we teach our kids. And I used to pick on quadratic equations, and I used to say the only time my son's ever going to need to solve a quadratic equation is in the lesson on quadratic equations, and if he subsequently chooses to be a maths teacher. Guess what we're doing next week? Help me, please. If you understand them, could you just send me a cheat sheet? Because I'm going to need to know by the end of the week. Thank you so much for joining us. You know the drill. If you've enjoyed the show, give us a like. If you haven't enjoyed the show, let us know. We'll try and do something about it. Most of all, we'd love you to subscribe so that we can see you again next week. Thank you again. We'll be back again with more Parents Guide next week. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you then.
There are 1,000 stories in the Envisioners' future. This is just one of them.